everybody to Cinema Royale. I am Travis Hobson of PunchlineCritics.com. And on this week's show, we got 3 movies that we're talking about. We're going to start with Bradley Cooper's Maestro, his second directorial effort after A Star is Born. We got Ridley Scott's Napoleon, starring Joaquin Phoenix. And we have John Woo's return to American action movies with Silent Night. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see my buddy Chris Bumbray is here by my side from Jumbo.
Hey, everybody.
So, in my continued effort to get him to just do a regular podcast with me.
I'd love to. Maybe one day.
And full disclosure, we did this yesterday, and I messed it up. So yeah.
I wasn't gonna mention it, but seeing as how you did,
I don't care. People find that stuff funny. But I added a movie, so it's not exactly the same.
Yeah, we're talking about. We didn't originally talk about Silent Night, so there you go.
And since I just got a chance to see it, I was like, let's add it. So, and I knew you've seen it, and I think we have differing opinions on it too. So we can talk about that. Let's start with Maestro. This is Bradley Cooper's, like I said, the second film after A Star is Born. And he's doing more directing than he is acting at this point. It seems like he's like really committed to this, directing himself in movies anyway.
Yeah.
And this is by far his most audacious, ambitious effort. And Leonard Bernstein, the great composer. And, a lot's been made about his makeup and the prosthetic nose and things like that.
Too much has been made about it, I think.
Probably a bit too much. Personally, I don't think it matters once the movie starts moving. And once you start seeing him in action, I think he looks great.
If you notice his nose too much, then you're not watching the movie in the right way.
You're probably not into the movie that much.
No.
If you're sitting there worrying about his nose,
Yeah.
But the movie, to me, Chris, was like, I think I had a greater appreciation for the first half of the film.
Yeah.
Than I did the second. As my cat makes a mess behind me, she likes to play in her water tank and just splash the water.
Is your cat a girl? I thought it was a boy cat.
Did I say girl?
You said her water tank. You misgendered her.
It's his water tank. Nick is the guy.
Gonna be mad.
Yeah, he likes to make a mess with his water and just splash around like a goddamn mess. Anyway, so Bradley Cooper as Leonard Bernstein, and I think I had appreciation for the first half of the movie a little bit more.
Yeah,
we go through his really kind of a fairy tale romance with his eventual wife, played by Carey Mulligan. And the movie's just shot differently. It's shot in black and white, and it's gorgeous. It has this energy to it as they're like literally sweeping from scene to scene. And it's interesting because that he's an out homosexual man at this time. And you're kind of curious about how much she knows about that. As you're watching them kind of fall in love, and they're really cute, and they seem like they're perfect for one another. But there's that kind of question lingering over it. I wasn't so much into the second half of the film when they get into like their domesticated life, where he's like balancing his heavy workload, and she's kind of taking a step back as an actress to be a mother, and they're dealing with the reality of his homosexuality. I feel like they take some broad strokes there and don't really get into the nitty gritty of how that life actually would have worked. But I really do think this is Bradley Cooper's best single performance. And I think if we're talking about movies for Netflix that have a chance at Best Picture, I think it's their best shot.
Well, I think Netflix is putting a ton of money into it, right? And a ton of they're really campaigning for it hard. I agree. I mean, I think his performance was amazing. You forget that you're watching Bradley Cooper, and I think that in itself is no mean feat. It's funny. I had the opposite reaction to you. Like, I found the first part of it, I was kind of getting caught up in the artifice of it a little bit, like the technique, too much so to the point that, I was kind of taking note of he's doing this, he's doing that. But then I started really getting into the story as it got more into the domestic drama. And I mean, I had more of an appreciation, I think, for it just because it did make me think a lot about that phenomenon that was probably happening a lot in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and before that too, where these kind of homosexual men married women because, they would have never been able to live their lives openly as gay men, and the complicated dynamic of that, the understanding that they have, and the attitudes of the time, because she probably honestly thought that she could change him that might have been something that she considered, because people thought that way back then. They thought it was a choice, whereas it's not a choice. People just didn't understand homosexuality in that era.
You can't just take a class or something and learn it. You can't do that.
I mean, that was honestly, though, that was like the mindset at the time, which is crazy. We were looking at it through a 2023 context, but it was the dark ages back then in terms of, gender, race, and sexuality. Like, it was fucking crazy what people were like. I mean, so I did like that, and I liked the relationship that built between the two of them, because how can you hate somebody for being who they are? I thought that was well done, especially as she has her health issues at the end, and I thought that whole thing was well done. My only issue, I mentioned this to you, is that I found that outside of Cooper and Mulligan, because it was so focused on them, that nobody else really registers in the film, in the supporting cast. Not Matt Bomer, not Maya Hawke, and not Sarah Silverman.
Poor Matt Bomer. Always the gay also ran. He's always the guy.
The guy who's abandoned. Sure.
He's always that guy. He must have that expression on his face, like
hangdog, sad kind of look. Yeah.
I know, like that scene is just him by himself, looking forlorn, and it's like the last shot you ever get of him. It's like in the whole movie. It's like, Matt Bomer, man, I feel bad for you. just that's his Magic Mike. That's the role he always has. But the same goes for like Maya Hawke, who plays their oldest daughter, and there's like the scene where she's kind of getting picked on at school over her father's lifestyle and things like that, and they touch on it, but it doesn't really go anywhere. Like, not really, Yeah. I think that's a little bit disappointing that the supporting cast doesn't get more love. But Bradley Cooper and Carey Mulligan are so good in this together. I thought that you can almost sort of overlook it. It is a really well-made film, and I think there's one thing you can't deny. And we talked about that virtuoso 6-minute sequence he has near the end of the movie.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah.
That's like his Oscar moment. Like, I think he's going to get nominated for Best Actor in a tough field this year, but I think he will make that. This will be the scene that they show.
He'll get nominated. I don't know that he probably actually has a good chance of winning. I don't know. I think it's a
good chance. It's a movie that's definitely made for Hollywood people. Who love Leonard Bernstein.
That is my one question about the movie, though. Do you think it has like any crossover appeal? Do you think like mainstream audiences are going to give a shit about it? Like Star is Born, they obviously did, but it's just like, I wonder, like, is this a movie is it a little too inside Hollywood? Is it a movie that other people are going to actually like? It does feel like the only way that you'd ever get a movie like this made nowadays is for Netflix, right?
Right. And you saw the producers on the movie too. It's like,
oh yeah, Scorsese, Spielberg and stuff. It's only guys at that level that could get it made.
Right. That helped. I don't know if it has much crossover appeal. I know, especially if people find out that there's like not a ton about Bernstein, like the creator. Mm-hmm. There's actually not a lot about like him working on West Side Story, things that people know him for and love. There's not much of that. You get plenty of his music throughout the movie, which is great. But in terms of like showing the genius side of him, you get some of it. You see how big so good at his craft affects him and affects the people around him. But in terms of like him creating the art, you don't get much of that.
Yeah.
And besides, everybody knows that Posey is just a bunch of bullshit. Like, conducting is just a bunch of bullshit.
I know you said this yesterday. I know
it's true. It was true yesterday. It's true today.
You don't have a lot of like this. No. But I was laughing though at the part. You must have been annoyed when he's telling the guy, no, he keeps shutting him down.
He's doing the exact same thing as
this, like this, and he's like, oh yeah, you mean like this? Yeah, and it's like
conducting is nonsense. It's a grand scheme. It's a big lie that they've been telling us to make it.
Boy, Lydia Tarr and you wouldn't get along.
Lydia Tarr and I would not get along.
Lenny,
Lydia Tarr would admit.
How dare you besmirch Lenny's reputation like this?
I bet you Lydia Tarr would admit that some of what she does is overblown, but not all of it. I'm serious. I'm here to tell you it's all nonsense. But anyway, yeah. See, you're doing exactly what Bernstein is doing. The people who know how to play the music, what do they need you for? To leave a sticker.
Yeah.
What do they need you for?
I don't understand exactly what they're doing though in terms of conducting. I never have. Like it's just like I don't. But but then again, I'm not Leonard Bernstein, am I? I'm Chris Bumbray. Close.
Whatever. Okay, so we can both. I think we could both highly recommend Maestro.
Oh yeah. But it's one of those things though. I am wondering. I always wonder what my parents are going to think of this movie, and like I really don't know. Like they're either going to love it or they're going to fucking hate it. I don't know.
I will say this. There are some of my friends that I could bring to watch this who would like it, and there's some that wouldn't. It's not like some other Netflix films where I couldn't bring any of my friends to watch the movie. It's just it's too much for geeky cinephiles that they would my normals in my life would be like hell no.
Yeah.
But they could probably watch Maestro and be okay, I think.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about another movie that the normals will probably appreciate a little bit more, and that's Napoleon. Ridley Scott's new film about Napoleon Bonaparte with Joaquin Phoenix in the role. I've made no bones about the fact that I don't really give a shit about this movie or anything that Ridley Scott's doing right now. I just think they're making these really antiquated, old-fashioned movies that audiences have said time and time again that they don't care about. And I don't think I think Napoleon kind of falls into that list too. And it's a delicate mix, this movie, because like we were saying yesterday, Chris, I know they're not going for total historical accuracy here. It's not like it's just a straight biography of Napoleon. There's aspects of it that are over the top and ridiculous and goofy. The sausages line is classic. I think it's the best line of the movie, almost of the year, almost. I will spoil it for people who have not seen it.
It's so great because you have boats.
There are some really fun, silly B movie-esque lines in this, but it's a really delicate mix to get right, and I don't think that it actually does. I think it teaches being terrible, more so than to being kind of fun.
It's one of those things, you and I talked about it, is that I think that the 4-hour cut or the extended cut is going to be a lot better because, the best parts of the movie are the Napoleon and the Josephine moments. But I feel like in an effort to make it more commercial, they emphasize the battles, which I don't think is necessarily the intention of the film. Right. So I feel like Scott's intentions are actually going to be much clearer when we see the actual finished version of the film. This is his version for spectacle, to go see on the big screen. So it's got all the battle sequences. I don't think there's going to be much in terms of extra action when it comes out. I think it's all going to be mostly Josephine's role being pumped up. And I think that'll make it a better movie because what their dynamic is the most interesting thing about it, and the performance.
I totally agree. When it was initially pitched, they said there was going to be a lot from her perspective. He's obsessed with and kind of takes advantage of him. She's a bit, she's definitely wears the pants in that relationship. Just kind of.
I'm glad that they cast Vanessa Kirby in the end rather than Jodie Comer, who I like a lot. I liked her a lot in The Last Duel. I thought that was a great movie, but I think that Vanessa Kirby is more, a little bit older and a little more powerful, I think, of a figure type thing. More imposing.
A bit edgier. I think she commands more authority.
Exactly.
She could kind of bully you a little bit if she wanted to.
I mean, Jodie Comer, she did Killing Eve and stuff like that, but she's smaller. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of, and young. Like, it's funny. Jodie Comer, I was surprised at how young she looked in Free Guy, and the parts when she's not in the video game, and then I looked her up. I'm like, oh, she actually is quite young as an actress, and I think that, Josephine was older. So I think it suits the role, a lot more.
Totally agree. The best parts of that movie is the dynamic between Napoleon and Josephine and especially later on as he kind of settles into power and kind of, I think, loses his grip somewhat. Their relationship changes. I think the relationship gets more interesting. If the 4-hour cut is mostly them, it could be another Kingdom of Heaven situation where the is so much better than the
I mean, he does. That's the thing about Scott, though. It's that his cuts are always. But it's interesting, though. There are some times that I've thought the theatrical cuts were better. I was thinking about that the other day. So which movie has a way better theatrical cut than a director's cut is American Gangster. Because American Gangster, there's a whole epilogue that he puts into the director's cut where it's them walking around modern day Harlem, and it's not needed at all. I found like it ends so much better in the theatrical version, you know. So he's not always right.
Is there an Alien Covenant 4-hour cut out there?
I don't think so, but yeah, I mean, yeah. Sometimes the theatrical cuts are better, but in the Kingdom of Heaven, though, it's like significantly better. Like it's a 6/10 movie elevated to like a 9/10 or a 10/10 movie. You know, it's amazing what they cut out of that film. Like the final fight scene between the villain and the hero, they cut out for theatrical. Like you got to think, what the hell's going on there?
I would love to sit in the editing room for some movies.
Yeah.
They make the decisions on that.
I don't know what decisions they were making when they did Kingdom of Heaven, though. It's like, are you trying to make this awful? Like, it's just shows you how bad editing can really fuck up a movie.
It's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Just look at the original Daredevil.
Sorry? Oh, God.
Daredevil. The extended
Julio version is much better.
The extended version is better.
Yeah, it is.
It's still not a great movie, but it's better.
Much more Coolio involved.
All right, let's wrap up with John Woo's Silent Night. This is the second movie in like 2 years named Silent Night. Remember that Keira Knightley holiday movie from like?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I had a problem with that in the back end too for SEO.
No original holiday like titles anymore.
That was a real SEO problem for us because I had to go back in and put like 2001, 2021 Silent Night on like all that stuff. And then this is 2000. Well, this is now kind of Silent Night. When people talk about Silent Night, they're talking about this one for now until the next movie called Silent Night comes out in 2 years.
In a year, there'll be another movie named Silent Night, and it'll star both Keira Knightley and Joel Kinnaman. It'll have both. But this movie is interesting, guys. This is John Woo's first movie here in America in 20 years. It's hard to believe it's his paycheck, which was aptly named. That was a paycheck movie. If there
yeah, and I mean, I love Redcliffe, but from what I understand, his follow up to it, The Crossing apparently is a disaster. I was talking to somebody who was at
I didn't think it was a disaster, but it's definitely not great. It's definitely good, not really good either. It's kind of a mess, honestly.
And I thought Manhunt was silly. Like I liked things about it. Like it had some good action, but it had this terrible jazz soundtrack. And for some reason, half of the movie's dialogue was in English, but it was being spoken by somebody who clearly could not speak English. And it was just like, why?
The Redcliffe.
And they should have had Chow Yun-Fat in it. That should have been the hero.
The 2-part Blu-ray Redcliffe. The Redcliffe Blu-ray.
I mean, it's an amazing movie. Yeah. It's a fantastic film.
So good. If you've never seen Redcliffe, check it out for sure.
And the 2-part version, I saw for the first one I saw was the cut that was together because that was the theatrical version, which I enjoyed, but the 2-part is way better.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, Silent Night though is interesting because it's mostly dialogue free. It stars Joel Kinnaman as a father who tries to get revenge against the Mexican gangbangers who shoot and kill his son in a drive-by. They also shoot him in the throat, causing him to be unable to speak, which is the really ridiculous kickoff of this premise. But at least it's an explanation. So I actually didn't hate it. It's a totally preposterous film, but at least they gave us an explanation for why it's.
I liked it. For me, though, it was just my problem is, and I wrote in my review, is that the gimmick of it being dialogue free never really works for me because I just don't understand how, Kid Cudi is walking around as a cop and he's not saying anything. Like I feel like he's just dying to say something, and Catalina and, Moreno, like it's just kind of the excuses they make to not have people talk. Just it gets ridiculous at a certain point. Yeah, I love her too, but it's just like they could have had them talk and just had him be silent the whole movie. I think that might have been a better choice. It's a gimmick, and it's a gimmick that they're trying to have fun with.
Be a total gimmick. Like it could have been just him who couldn't speak.
Yeah, and I think it would have been better, but still, even when it's silent for the first half of it, I kind of wasn't that into it. I was like, oh, this is kind of silly. But then when the action kicked in, I was kind of like, oh yeah, okay, this is a John Woo movie. The action is great.
But the problem, see, that's my thing though. See, and there are aspects of it that remind you of the old John Woo, but I thought for the most part, the action was sort of generic for him. Like I
Well,
kind of over the top gonzo-ness of like the
I kind of like that though, because he was trying to make it scrappier because the guy is an amateur. And I think he was trying to make that more clear that he's not necessarily chow yun fat going around with two guns. He doesn't really know what he's doing.
He
You
also
know,
he doesn't. I know he doesn't want to like ape the John Wick style that's so popular now that
I
everybody.
think that was a big concern too, though. I think that was a huge concern for him. He didn't want to look like he was copying people that were copying him.
Yeah, I get that, but I also think it because of that, it kind of settles into Liam Neeson action movie territory a little bit.
I would say it's much better than that. Like it has a lot more action, a lot more fighting, a lot more physicality. I love. There's a whole riff scene in it that kind of pays tribute to Alfred Hitchcock's Torn Curtain. You know, in Torn Curtain, there's a great scene where Paul Newman's trying to kill a guy, and it's impossible to kill this guy. Like he just keeps surviving, and it goes on and on and on, and it goes to show you how difficult it can be. And they do a riff on that sequence, which I thought was really good. Like I think that Woo's got the knowledge. You know, the only problem for me is the villain is so stock. It's just like fodder, cannon fodder. But I did like that Kid Cudi gets the chow yun fat moment with the two guns. I thought that was kind of fun.
But you know what? Despite myself, I ended up kind of liking Kid Cudi. Like I didn't like him at first because I knew him as a rapper and not a particularly good one in my opinion. So I was like, why is he acting? He doesn't seem like a natural actor.
He was great in James White. And the thing is, if you ever interview Kid Cudi, though, I have to say this, he is one of the nicest guys in the business.
Yeah.
Like I had an amazing interview with him, and he's kind of there's all kinds of stories about Kid Cudi being kind of this super good guy. Like I remember, Shia LaBeouf when he was talking to John Bernthal about how, when he had his come down, everybody hated him. He said the only guy that gave him a call was Kid Cudi, the only one who cared if he lived or died. Because, it was one of those things he didn't give a shit that it might look bad that they were still friends. So I have a lot of respect for him as a guy.
The horror comedy just from a couple months ago where he played himself.
Yeah, I never saw that one.
I can't remember the name of it. It was
I loved him in James White. I thought he was great in James White.
Yeah. See, now I gotta go look it up which movie it was. But it was the one from just like a couple months ago. It was the all black cast. And
he wasn't in The Blackening.
Yeah, I think that's it.
He wasn't in The Blackening, was he?
Wasn't he in The Blackening?
Oh, I don't think so.
He wasn't then. Oh, it was House Party.
House Party. Okay.
It was House Party. It wasn't a horror movie. It was just a totally mediocre remake of it. Okay. So yeah, it was he was playing himself in House Party, and he's hilarious as himself in that. So and able to poke fun at himself, So
yeah.
He seems like it's one of those things where he kind of came out of nowhere and became an actor that I actually kind of like and look forward to seeing what he does. Because he's some pretty interesting choices too. He's not just like, popping up in like blockbuster movies and stuff. He's like,
I can't even tell you a Kid Cudi song. Like I don't know anything about his music. I know him as an actor.
If all you ever end up knowing him for is being an actor, then I think that's fine.
Yeah, that is how I know him though, as an actor, as Scott the actor. He's kind of like, when I interviewed him, I didn't call him. I called him Scott. Like that was the thing, So it was kind of.
So I feel like we're a little bit split on Silent Night. Look, I don't want people to think I think it's a terrible movie because I don't. I just think it's a kind of a disposable one for me. Like I think I came in there with really high expectations, as I'm sure you did too. It's John.
Yeah, because it's Woo. Yeah, of course. Well, no, you know what? I have to say, honestly, I wasn't expecting that much just because I haven't liked a Woo movie in a while, So and it looked like it was kind of, like a throw off movie to a certain extent, So I wasn't actually expecting all that much, So I was kind of pleasantly surprised.
I still think people haven't properly found the right way to use Joel Kinnaman yet. Like I keep feeling like there's some role that's like perfect for him somewhere that he's still hasn't fell into. Like he was good in the Suicide Squad movies. I didn't think he was terrible in the RoboCop film. I actually don't think that movie is as bad as people think, like to claim it is. But that didn't feel right to him for him either. I don't know. He's such a strange actor to me. I don't know. I think Hollywood's struggling to find the right fit for him still.
Yeah, because he's not, it's funny because he's Swedish, right? But he always plays Americans. And I always find that a little,
I think they struggle to figure out how to use some of these actors.
Yeah.
And my man crush Matthias Schoeninger, he's
Oh, he's the best. He's the best too. But always as Americans though, like it's kind of like they always kind of cast them. It's they do struggle with those European guys, like how to really use them in film.
Ones who can be like both sensitive and a bruiser if you need them to.
Well, I don't think Matthias Schoenertz has ever gotten to really play sensitive in American movies. I think that's the problem. That's why he's so much better when you watch him. Like I find when you see him in an American movie, you're kind of like, who is this guy? Is this the generic tough guy? But then when you watch him in like Rust and Bone or something like that,
Far from the Madding Crowd, he's fantastic. And so,
yeah, or what was the one he did?
And Rust and Bone, I think, is still one of the most perfect movies to me. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, Rust and Bone's amazing. Yeah, I know, and he's fantastic in it too. Or Bullhead. Bullhead is really good too.
What's that?
Bullhead is terrific as well.
Oh yeah. He's such a great actor, man. He deserves to be doing a lot more than he really is.
And I liked him a lot in that movie, the Alice Wincour movie. What was it called? It was kind of a cool movie. It had a weird title though. It was where him and Diane Kruger, where he's like a bodyguard, and you think that he's insane, and you think he's insane the whole movie, but then it turns out he's actually completely right and the hero of the film. I like that.
What do you think of him in Child 44 for that?
Oh, that movie. That was such a heartbreak too, because that was another movie you'd think would be amazing because they had such a great cast, and then it was terrible.
I'll never forget sitting in the theater to that because they didn't screen it here.
Yeah,
I remember going to like a late show, like 11 o'clock that night to watch it, and I was like bored out of my mind.
It never came out. It never came out in Canada. That's the thing. It never got a release in Canada. Like that was the weird thing. It came out. Went direct to DVD in Canada. So I saw it. I actually pirated it, a copy of it, like as it was when it was like in screener seasons. I was dying to see it. I was like, this has got to be a good movie. People have got to be wrong, and they were not.
Oh man, it's so bad.
Yeah.
I don't want to revisit it because it's so bad. Like it's been so.
It was bad. It was very bad. Like Ophelia bad.
Well, this has been Cinema Royale. This week we talked about Maestro, Napoleon, and Silent Night. I think we both really like Maestro. I think we're a little bit split on both Napoleon and Silent Night. I think both of them are worth checking out for various reasons.
Yeah, me too.
But not necessarily great movies to check out.
I liked both of them more than you did, but you didn't hate either of them, so.
I certainly despise either one of them. I'm not like warding you away. Like, please don't go to see.
What the fuck you saying?
I'm not doing that. But this has been Cinema Royale. That is my buddy Chris Bumbray of Jillville.com. Check out all his stuff there. They do awesome work. And you can find me every single day at BumpstroneCritics.com. This has been Cinema Royale. I thank you all for joining me. Thanks again, Chris.
Thanks, man.
All right, bye, everybody.
Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.